Lexus has finally revealed the 2023 5th generation RX, the quintessential luxury crossover. Let's get into it. Now, I polled you guys a while back on the most important things that you were excited for the new RX, and design came first. So we're actually going to go over the images first, then go over all the small details, including powertrains, because that's the thing I'm mostly excited for. Oh, and before we jump into the interior and exterior styling, there are earmarks. So if you don't really care about how the vehicle looks or me breaking it down, you can skip to the area you're interested in, whether it's powertrains or colors or whatever. Here's our first look at the new RX. It looks like a larger NX, and that is not a bad thing. It looks a little bit more special. You can also get 21-inch wheels on this F Sport Performance model. Yes, we do have an F Sport Performance model for the first time on the Lexus RX. The only other F Sport Performance model is the IS 500. And we're kind of going reverse order here, but let's just scroll up. Here's the back end. We have that full taillight bar, LED bar that goes across the back. Lexus typed in to that black bezel around the taillights. It looks like it was designed for that, whereas the new Lexus NX and LX kind of looks like an afterthought with the lettering put on the tailgate. This looks really clean, really good. And then as we go down below the taillights, of course, we see 500H as well as Direct 4. We'll detail that more in a second. And then we have that lacy design, that mesh pattern design that we also see on the front end. Doesn't look like there are any exhaust tips shown on this model, which is fine because the NX kind of went away from that on their F Sport models as well. Looking on the inside of this F Sport model, we have Rioja red, kind of two-tone with that black. This is going to be Nulux synthetic leather. The ship knob looks to be exactly the same as what we have on the NX nowadays, even the 14-inch screen. Steering wheel looks to be the same, that customizable heads-up display steering wheel. We have the same 7-inch MID. Yeah, we don't have the 12-inch MID like the Highlander is getting, for example. There's a back seat, not much to see there other than we have some unique designs on the doors, and there's the new F Sport Performance badge that has a black background instead of the white background on the normal one. There's the new turbocharged engine, gone is the V6. We'll talk more about powertrains in a little bit. The front end of the new RX kind of going through. Now this is the F Sport model, which has that mesh pattern. Of course, it has a trip beam, so here's a better image of it. We have that trapezoidal grille that is definitely a welcome evolution of the spindle grille from the previous RX, and we kind of have that boomerang design at the bottom of the front lip. Very attractive looking SUV. Here are those 21-inch wheels on the F Sport model. These are blacked out. They look pretty good with this vehicle, especially the paint matched wheel arches around them. And this is just a bunch of cargo shots, nothing crazy here. It's a 40-20-40 split, so I'm sure you guys would appreciate that for cargo purposes. And we're just gonna keep, there we go, back to the normal images. Panoramic sunroof, of course, no surprise there. A better look at the taillights. We kind of have that L motif kind of fading off from the main rear tail light and the brake light, so that's kind of cool. Here's the mesh pattern on the front of the vehicle. Another image of the interior. We'll talk about materials here in a second. Yes, it's a big step up in terms of materials as well as interior design over the Lexus NX. Here's our first high quality look of that Direct 4 badge with the RX 500H. New trippies look great, as well as that daytime running light. These lights look very similar to the new refreshed LS that happened in 2021. A bunch of sensors underneath here. We do have Lexus Safety System 3.0, and there's that MID I was talking about earlier. Don't need to beat around the bush there. This is actually showing the first, hey, I didn't know this. This is the first image of the plug-in hybrid. I didn't think we have any. There's not a lot of details on the 450H Plus. We don't have any specifications in terms of range, power, battery capacity. I think it's safe to say that it's going to be similar to the current NX though, but it is a very good looking vehicle. Now that we're seeing it not in the S Sport, guys, it looks very similar to the current RX and NX for that matter. But we have that large swooping piece at the bottom of the door panels that is kind of reminiscent of the 2021 and newer IS. Here's a better look at the S Sport. I mean, I thought this was an F Sport model, but this is just a normal model. Because if it was an F Sport model, which there are multiple F Sport models, by the way, the F Sport Performance and the F Sport Handling, we would see an F Sport badge on the side, and here it is not. It just looks really clean. It even looks like the chrome at the top has been grayed out, but it could just be the lighting. What do you guys think of the new design of the RX? We're kind of coming to an end on the images. Here is the front end. So we've only seen the front end of the F Sport. Here's the standard front end, which I still think is I think it looks really solid here, kind of how it blends into the bumper not only on the sides, but on the top as well. And I think those additional air inlets to the side of the grille look really good. They're very minimal. They don't look overdone like the F Sport models do. So it looks really, really clean in the non-F Sport guys. Here's a closer look of the new design of the grille. It definitely looks a lot more premium. It looks more expensive. And yeah, it just looks really cool. It looks like a futuristic, near futuristic RX for sure. Definitely doesn't look like a minor refresh or anything. It definitely feels a little bit of the future. And we have more attention to the rear seats. You kind of see that lattice pattern on the shoulder area of the rear seat there. It looks solid. And ambient lighting. The RX hasn't really had much for customizable ambient lighting. Well, rest assured now, guys, you have this pretty orange color. I'm assuming it's customizable, just like it is on the NX, but as it gives you a good idea here. And then we also have the Mark Levinson speakers really nicely tucked into the doors. It doesn't look like they're tacked on. It looks like the door was designed around that Mark Levinson speaker. And then again, you have that kind of lattice design again on the materials around that speaker. I think it just looks really good. It's definitely a nice step up from the NX and the current RX. Now, just like the RZ, if you look at the steering wheel right above the Lexus logo, there's a little black bar there. That's going to be able to read the driver's eyes. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Lexus RX in the future is available with like autonomous driving. It might be like a subscription service like it is on many other competitors. But I just think that's interesting. This does have Safety System 3.0, like I mentioned, I think before. So here are the bullet points. 4 redesigned powertrains, 3 electrified, Lexus Safety System Plus 3.0, Lexus Interface Multimedia System with the same 14-inch touchscreen that we have on, let's say, the Lexus NX, for example. We have 2 new grades, Premium Plus. Now, Premium Plus, for example, I've seen that package on the Lexus GX before. It's definitely more packages are a good thing. It's a good thing for the customer. And we have the new F Sport performance model with the Direct 4 all-wheel drive technology. I was right about most stuff on it, but there's some surprises for sure. First available advanced park on the RX. We saw this on the Lexus NX as well. At the time of this recording, I'm actually not in my studio in Florida. I am in Plano, Texas for the physical reveal of the RX. So I'm watching it with my eyeballs while you guys are watching this press release detailed by me kind of in the past. I know it's a little time travel-y, but definitely stay tuned for more Toyota Lexus. New updates, new vehicles, special editions, all the cool stuff coming out of Plano for Toyota HQC 2022. Let's stop beating around the bush. Let's get into the new RX. It is switching to the new K platform. This is making the vehicle more rigid. It'll handle better, lower center of gravity. It has a really wide wheelbase. The same wheelbase as the LX, which is good for off-roading. So if you want to take the RX, I don't know what the approach and departure angles are. It's probably not great compared to the LX, but yes, anyways, it has that magical 112-inch wheelbase that the Land Cruiser and the LX does. Looks like 19-inch wheels are the standard wheels, and we already talked about the 21-inch wheels for luxury as well as F Sport performance models. Here are all the grades. We have standard or base, we have premium, we have that Premium Plus, Luxury, F Sport Handling, and RX First F Sport Performance. It will have 10 exterior color options depending on the grade. Ultra White, Imminent White Pearl, Ultra White's an F Sport color, so that's why there are 2 whites. Nebula Gray Pearl, Iridium, Caviar, Matador Red Mica, Copper Crest. That is a color I haven't seen before. Nori Green Pearl, Nightfall Mica, as well as Grecian Water. Just like on the Lexus NX, the RX shares the E-latch, which helps with safety so you don't knock bikers off their bikes or get your door ripped off with traffic if you're parked alongside of a street. It says available panoramic glass, so the roof is not standard panoramic, but you probably have a standard sunroof, I would guess. Full packaging and pricing, of course, is not available with this reveal. Definitely stay tuned, because the vehicle will be available by the end of 2022. And as we approach that, as well as media first drives, which I will be there, guys. This is huge for Lexus. This is their baby. This is their breadwinner. Heading into the interior, we have 6 interior color options and 4 ornamentation styles depending on the grade. So we have Macadamia, which is new for the RX, I believe. Black. We have Birch, which is kind of a nice light gray. Palomino, which is kind of like a caramel color, if I remember correctly. Peppercorn, which will be a white and black combination, and Rioja Red, which we've had for a long time on Lexus products. Ornamentation styles. We have Black Cascade, Ash Bamboo, Black Open Pore, and Dark Graphite Aluminum. So Other than the bamboo, most of these are going to be very dark accented trims, which should provide a good contrast, especially if you get a lighter color interior. Okay, back to the TNGA-K platform. I mentioned it has a lower center of gravity and better weight distribution, but the all-new RX is 198 pounds, or up to 198 pounds. That's probably just comparing the front-wheel drive 350 to the front-wheel drive 350 of the previous generation, because we know when we start adding in battery packs and motors, the thing is going to get much heavier. This also gets the Lexus driving signature, so yes, it has been tested around the track at the Shimoyama test course in Japan to get that Lexus driving signature. So it is going to brake, or the brake feel is going to be a lot better, the steering feel will be a lot better, and it'll just handle a lot better than the outgoing RX. They've improved ride comfort and quietness, which is a good thing because the previous RX, I feel like, was almost a step backwards in terms of comfort and quietness of the third generation RX, I should say. So the wheelbase is 2.36 inches longer, but the overhangs are 2.36 inches shorter. So the overall length is exactly the same. And I'll put what that length is up on the screen for you guys. The rear section of the platform features an all-new multi-link suspension design attached to a rigid, high-torsion rear body frame that facilitates more consistent suspension input and travel during acceleration, deceleration, and steering moments. Powertrain for everyone. If you guys already didn't have your snacks and drinks, I mean, this video is well over 10 minutes at this point. Make sure you have them because this is where it gets real spicy. And there are some surprises here. Yes, I got my estimations were pretty close, but let's get into it. So we have 4 new powertrain options, including the plug-in electric vehicle. It's going to be the 450h Plus. We don't have details on it, but let's keep reading. Here is the RX 350 with the 2.4 liter turbocharged engine, 275 horsepower, 317 pound-feet of torque. Rest in peace, V6. We saw you gone on the Highlander. Writing was on the wall with the new RX as well. This is going to be one of my favorite powertrains of the vehicle, one of the more affordable and most efficient powertrains on the vehicle, just like it was on the Lexus NX, the 350h. 4th generation large capacity fuel efficient hybrid system features a front unit that integrates a high torque 2.5 liter inline 4 engine. They've actually increased the power output on this setup just slightly versus the Lexus NX 350h. Pretty nice that the RX, the bigger vehicle, gets a little bit extra power in it. Here we are, the 450h Plus. Details will be shared at a later time, so stay tuned. Now for the last powertrain. This is the Showcase powertrain. Lexus RX has never been a performance vehicle until now. Lexus is going to go toe-to-toe with some of its German competitors here. So let's talk about what it has to offer. 500h F-Sport Performance introduces a new hybrid electric system for Lexus brand with a front unit that integrates a high torque 2.4 liter turbo and a 6-speed automatic. I had no idea that they're going for a 6-speed here. All my guess is that they're just going to put the 8-speed in it, but the 8-speed might be too big, too heavy. Might not be fuel efficient and enough for this sort of setup. It's really hard to say. And I don't know if this 6-speed is a carryover from a different Lexus or Toyota model. It's really tough to say, but it might be uniquely developed for this sort of system as well. And it's probably like 99% sure provided by Aishin here, one of their top suppliers and transmission makers. Of course, there's an inverter and electric motor in between that 2.4 liter and that 6-speed auto. And then there's an e-axle rear unit that integrates a high output electric motor, inverter, and reduction gearbox. We don't know exactly the power numbers of that rear unit yet, and I haven't got out my speculation glasses to figure out what kind of power it could be packing. We'll finish up the RX 500h F-Sport Performance details here, and then we'll head down to the little spreadsheet that Toyota/Lexus provided for us with the new powertrains. So this is the first Lexus model other than the RZ with Direct 4, and it's their highest form of all-wheel drive systems. The Direct 4 all-wheel drive supplies optimal power to the e-axles to provide maximum grip, traction, acceleration, all situations. And one of the surprises for me, of course, this will have adaptive variable suspension, but it has 6-piston brake calipers, so it's nice to see it get a nice brake, healthy brake upgrade over the normal RXs out there. And in typical F-Sport fashion, we'll get perforated leather trimmed steering wheel with paddle shifters. You'll have an F-Sport badge on it as well. And you'll have suede interior door trim. You have F-Sport scuff plates as well as a leather trimmed interior. Okay, interesting. Leather trimmed interior. Does that mean that the seats are leather on the new RX F Sport models? I wonder. Makes me wonder. I doubt it. Almost always we see new Lux on F Sport models in the Lexus lineup. So interesting there. And we have aluminum pedals and more. Now, if you guys want to read about safety, you guys can pause it here. I'm not going to go over it too much, but here we are with this spreadsheet. Yes, Toyota and Lexus provided a spreadsheet for us with the powertrains. The one missing here, at least for our market, is the plug-in hybrid 450h Plus. It's probably going to be in the low 300s horsepower, just like the NX is. Probably still use the 18.1 kilowatt hour battery that the RAV4 Prime and the NX does, but they could use a bigger battery if they wanted to, and possibly use a little bit different electrification if they wanted to, but I highly doubt it. So let's get into what we do have. Well, gone is the V6, but we do have that new 8-speed automatic transmission that was brought into this vehicle with, or should I say the Lexus lineup, by the new NX. So it's not the same 8-speed as the outgoing 8-speed. Can be had in front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. This is the only model that you'll be able to get in front-wheel drive, at least here in the States. There are going to be other variations around the world of the RX, but if you want front-wheel drive in the RX, you don't want all-wheel drive, the turbo 4-cylinder is the only way to go. 275 horse, 317 pound-feet, 24 miles per gallon. Fuel economy is going to be pretty similar to what we see on the V6 RX, and we saw that with the Highlander, where the fuel economy was identical from the V6 to the Turbo 4. So it's about the same. 0 to 60 though is fairly brisk, around the mid to low 7s here. There's that length that I mentioned earlier, 192.5 inches, same length I believe as the outgoing RX, 75.6 inches width, overall height 66.7, and that wheelbase, that massive wheelbase at 112.2 inches. So interestingly, we go from 19 inches to 21 inches. There are no 20-inch wheels available on the new RX, which is fine. It doesn't really matter what grade you get because the tire sizes are the same. It just depends on the wheel size. It's interesting, the F Sport Performance model can come with 19-inch wheels. That seems very bizarre. You'd think it'd be 21-inch wheels standard. All right, moving on to the mass market hybrid here. Probably one of the better buys out there if you just don't care that much about performance, because that's going to be more for the plug-in hybrid as well as the direct 4 hybrid. So they're taking the 2.5 liter naturally aspirated engine. We still have that CVT all-wheel drive standard, 246 horsepower. That's a 7 horsepower bump over the Lexus NX that no one was expecting. I'll be interested to see where Lexus is getting this higher output number compared to the NX. They also give us pound-feet of torque on the hybrid. Typically, we never see Toyota or Lexus post torque numbers on a CVT or eCVT based hybrid system. So that's quite strange. Now, here's why you would pick the 350h over the RX 350 Turbo. Well, there's a lot of reasons. The acceleration is in the same ballpark, right? 7.4 seconds. No one's going to notice that from the all-wheel drive RX 350. But you get 33 miles per gallon. So you get, I don't know, around 50% better fuel economy than the Turbo 4 with the same performance. Like, to me, that's a no-brainer. What do you guys think? Would you be getting the 350h over the normal 350? And I know some of you are not that interested in the Turbo. And after driving the Turbo and the NX, as well as the 350h hybrid and the NX, I'd pick the hybrid every single time. Anyways, moving on to the Big Daddy, the F Sport Performance Hybrid, the 500h. You're taking that turbo engine, putting it with a 6-speed auto, giving it a big fat electric motor in the back, and these power numbers are pretty impressive. 367 horsepower. You know, I had numbers that were somewhat close to that for a while, and I'm like, hey, this is Lexus we're talking about. Let's bring those numbers back down to somewhere around 330 or 320 or so, up to around 354. And they overshot that to 367 and 406 pound-feet. 0 to 60 is under 6 seconds here. So the 0 to 60, I think, is going to be probably in the mid to low 6s for the 450h Plus. But that's assuming that it's the same system that we have on the NX 450h Plus. They could make some adjustments, because if we look, remember the RX 350 actually has more power than the NX 350. So it's possible that the RX 450h Plus could have slightly more power, the NX 450h Plus. It won't be as quick as this F Sport Performance model, the plug-in hybrid. It'll be fairly close, and you'll get probably around 30 miles of plug-in range on it, maybe in the low 30s. So what are my thoughts on the new RX? Well, it doesn't really matter what I think, because the RX is going to still continue to be one of the best-selling two-row crossovers in the luxury market. It kind of started this segment as one of the first ever, if not the first ever, luxury vehicle that's a crossover. The hybrid was announced, the first 400h was announced like 2005, 2006 timeframe, and it's been well over a decade since we've had any additions to that hybrid setup. Now we have 3 different hybrid models, and this is the natural progression for the RX. There could be eventually a fully electric version as well, and I think maybe the lengthening of the wheelbase could be a sign of that, but that's looking way out into the future. What we have right now are 3 attractive hybrid models, and I think the turbo model to me is the least attractive. It has a worse fuel economy, it has comparable acceleration to the base hybrid, the 350h, and price-wise, it's probably going to be right there alongside the 350h. I don't expect that vehicle, the entry hybrid, to cost that much more. The interior, from what I've seen so far, is a nice minimalist step up from the current RX, and definitely a huge quality step up from what we see in the new NX. Exterior design, while it looks like an RX from most angles on the front end, is definitely a nice step up into the future. You have that rear taillight on the back that's kind of a Lexus signature now as well, with the new NX and IS and UX, etc. It's really good to see Lexus competing in the high output segment, or at least the performance segment of this vehicle for the first time ever. It's a little bit ballsy of them. It's not their typical, but I'm happy they're doing it. And I'm also happy with the numbers I'm seeing. Yes, 0 to 60 could be faster, but it's also returning 26 miles per gallon, which is a nice step up from the outgoing all-wheel drive RX, which is probably around 21 miles per gallon. So about 5 miles per gallon better, and you're getting a ton more power out of the vehicle. You have your efficiency option, you have your extreme efficiency option with the plug-in hybrid, as well as performance mixed in with that model. You have performance and a little bit of efficiency with the RX 500 F Sport Performance, and then you have the ho-hum turbo. So I'm very happy with the powertrain availabilities. It feels right on the RX, especially with Lexus's and Toyota's hybrid technology building in the past 20 plus years. It's finally good to see Lexus kind of get that powertrain attention. But this video is plenty long enough. Definitely stay tuned. Maybe I'll get a chance to walk around the vehicle, give you guys hands-on impressions of the new RX. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to be able to do that, but definitely stay tuned for more Toyota Lexus news coming out of Plano, Texas this week. Thank you so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. If you're new to the channel, subscribe for more, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.